Good evening, everyone. We are back continuing our review series on Andor Season 2. We're talking about episodes 7, 8, and 9 today, which is the most recent arc of episodes. We're talking about episode 7, Messenger, episode 8, Who Are You, and episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion. I think mostly across the board from what I've seen from Season 2, myself included in much of this, episodes 1 through 6, certainly the first three. 4, 5, and 6 was definitely a marked improvement, but nonetheless, still a very, very slow burn series, even in comparison to season 1. I've just got done rewatching episodes 7 and 8. I did want to try and get episode 9 in as well. I watched the 3 last night, but man, harrowing stuff the last 3 episodes. I'm still kind of speechless from it, which isn't ideal when we're doing a live stream discussing it. This is not only some of the best Star Wars, this is some of the best TV I've ever seen. Everything was kind of leading to this moment. This was the payoff. Now, was it too late in the game for a payoff? You got to give it essentially half a season. The jury's still out on that one. I think they could have definitely tightened stuff.
This is a bigger payoff than half a season.
Yeah, I still think
this is technically a payoff from Rebels season 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I haven't watched Rebels, so but I imagine comparatively
the episode. You've heard me refer to the episode where Mon Mothma gives her speech and reveals herself as a rebel.
But no, I haven't seen that.
No, you heard me refer to that. That wasn't a question, by the way. You have.
Okay, I'm sure I have at some point. I don't remember.
Yeah, she's in that episode of Rebels. She's calling the Emperor out for the massacre on Ghorman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ghorman's mentioned. Oh, so it's not mentioned directly by name, is it? Oh, it is.
No, it's mentioned by name. The massacre on Ghorman.
Oh, okay. So it goes all the way back to that then. That's cool how they brought that in. I also heard recently that this actually harkens back to some old Star Wars canon as well.
Yes, yeah. The massacre on Ghorman. So back then with the Rebels thing, it was just a reference to Legends, and now it's a reference to Legends, I guess.
So was this like old expanded universe? George Lucas didn't preside over this, did he? Was this in like a separate novel, or
this was I don't even think Luke, I think this was around the time when the Clone Wars was still a war between the Republic and the Clone Masters.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be misremembering.
I mean, that's cool how they've worked it in then, and tied it into the lore now. What I really appreciated about these episodes is that we are getting stuff like Yavin 4. I'm not saying this in a key jangly way, but seeing these 3 episodes here, you do have to kind of reacclimatize yourself at the beginning of every single one of these arcs because of that year jump, and you have to be mindful that we're not seeing a whole bunch of character growth and relationships changing, people falling into relationships, circumstances changing, which is part of the frustrating thing, because I know that this was meant to be a 5-season show. I really kind of wish we were getting that. I still think that may have been dragging it out a little bit too long for 5 seasons.
It looks like we'd have gotten a new love interest for the skinny guy every single season.
Yeah. And
I'm pretty okay missing that.
I also think if it had have gone any longer, especially with viewing figures kind of dwindling, Disney would have come in with notes and would have been like,
the cast would have gotten old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I think Tony Gilroy was actually
age
whether he wanted to use the Emperor and Vader in this, and he turned it down. He said, "No, I don't need to. My story can stand on its own without that." If there was any place to bring Palpatine into
this
episode 9 would have been the one to do it. I'm not talking about sequel trilogy episode 9, by the way. They already did
bring him in episode 9.
They already did that. Well, before we jump into these, very, very quickly, because I know, unfortunately, you couldn't join us last week. What were your thoughts on the previous arc?
I was in so much pain.
Yeah, you were.
last arc was I enjoyed it. It felt the most like it was supposed to be part of a bigger season so far. Like it felt the most like this is a fraction of a 5-season show that is being turned into a 2-season show.
Yeah. I still
We started just after a job and then we ended with a completely new job, unrelated, wrapping up. Which I understand why it's there. It's there so because we get that wedge between them and Luthen in this, and also like with some retrospect, we see how really important Bix is, but also how important the thing that makes Bix Weller. I'm not going to go ahead and say, well, she's not. She's really fucked up. Was the fight? It was a victory. It was winning, as she put it.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
really small.
I think that my least favorite part of the previous arc before this was how rushed that whole Dr. Gorse thing felt at the end. To the point where
Yeah.
I thought, is this another dream sequence of Bix? Because she has that bit of a
I was
dream sequence at the
certain
beginning.
it was. You know what? I think we were meant to think it was at
You think
first,
it
and
was
then we're like,
intentionally
"This isn't a
ambiguous?
nightmare; it's a dream come true,"
Mm-hmm,
which is like the opposite of what you usually think when that shit happens.
mm-hmm.
This isn't a dream; it's a nightmare. Okay, all right, I'll get you. I'll put you down.
Because I
Boy,
felt like, wow, we wasted so much
clickbait's
time. Like,
over.
I'm fine with a Dr. Gorse revenge arc. That would have been perfect, but fucking hell, set it up. You can't just cut to a scene where you have them just walking to his apartment complex and killing him and blowing up the building. I'm like, you can't do
Actually,
that. Not in this show.
hang. No. Hang on. You might actually. I think this is the only show where you can do that. To be fair.
Not Andor. Not how well it paces things out and meticulously
No,
sets every
no.
minute
Like
thing up.
the way that no, the way it's very much like a look into a much broader story. It feels like the only show where you really can do that outside of the first episode of the season.
There was no lead into it though. She just walks in. They talk
No,
about cameras
no, there
being
was
everywhere.
no. There's the lead in is her being like Luthen's lit the thing. Whatever this job is, I want in.
Yeah, and then you just
That's
cut to the payoff of it. I'm like, oh, okay, he's gone.
correct.
It was,
I
yeah,
mean, to be
it
fair,
was.
what exactly would we have gotten from a mission of them infiltrating an Imperial base if the ultimate payoff was them
Well, they
killing
talk
Ghorman?
about cameras. They talk about cameras are everywhere. They can't even take a walk in the park because Cassian's completely paranoid about everything, and yet she can just
Yes.
stroll into an Empire apartment building. Apparently,
Well,
walk in.
so
There's
this
one
is where I was going
security
with it.
guard,
I want,
and
I
then
want like I want like a comic chain about this, where it's just like, oh, just so you know, this is what happened at the end of that episode.
yeah, yeah.
Like, this is the full story of like there's nothing for the characters here besides the payoff.
Hmm.
But here's an interesting story if you want one.
Well, we do get a payoff to Bix in this arc this week, where guess what? She doesn't die. So all these
Well,
people saying,
we got a
"Well,
year.
she's." That's true, but I think this is the last we're
It'd
going to
be
see of
kind of
Bix.
weird if yeah, I think it should be. I think um season finale should end with 1 year later, and then we see Bix learning the Death Star and Rogue One and everything.
Oh, you want to flash forward to? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I didn't think of
We're
that.
not.
Maybe they could do something like
Well,
that.
at first I was thinking we could do it, just literally just end the series with 1 year later and then credits, or
Hmm.
after the credits, and then you're expected to just throw on Rogue One.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but this works too.
I was actually no. I'll end with that question. It's going to tie into Rogue One,
Rogue
and we
One
are
is
planning.
3 episodes. Rogue One is 3 episodes.
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. You could view it
You've
that
got
way.
Jeddah, you've got Edu, and then you've got the Battle of Scarif.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, as most films should be. We are planning on watching Rogue One once we're done with the season finale of this next week. So I guess in 2 weeks'
Yes.
time, you can expect our review on Rogue One. I'm
Yeah,
really
that's
looking forward to going
Thursday
back
again,
to that
right?
one again. I haven't seen it in a long time, and it's going to be very interesting watching that through a
With
new
this
pair of eyes,
context,
essentially.
too.
Yeah, with the context of Andor, even if there are some things
May
that are
I
contradicted. But
make a suggestion? Maybe watch that episode of Rebels also. It's only 22 minutes.
send it my way.
In the
Send it
next
my way.
week.
I'll get
Yeah.
it watched. I'll get it watched. Let's stick with Bix then, because that's where we open. We open on Yavin 4. We see, the seeds of the rebellion starting
Yes,
to mobilize.
this is during Rebel Season 3.
Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see a lot more like seeds of Rogue One stuff. Who's that guy? Who's that like main guy in Yavin 4 in Rogue One?
The one who gives questionable orders.
Yeah, what's his name? General something or other. He's
Uh-huh.
I recognize him. I was like, oh,
he's not a general, I don't think.
I was like,
But
I
I
remember
recognize him from
him
Rogue
from
One.
yeah. He's the
Speaking
guy.
of recognizing people, there's a meeting where Bix is just like Dodonna, or I think it's like Bix and Velen's like, I was just talking to Dodonna and Nita, or no, not Nita, Nadine and Radis just over there. They're just off screen. You can't see them, but I just talked to them. They're right there. I promise.
I'm fine with that. It's bringing it more in context. I'm really liking this stuff.
It's kind of the opposite of when there's a CGI character.
Yes, that's true. So, I mean, I watched all 3 of these last night, and when we get our payoff in the final episode of this, in episode 9, to do with Bix, I really wanted to go back and rewatch episode 7, which I have done. I've rewatched episode 7 and 8 to see that bookended quality to this, and the journey and the dilemma that Bix has to go through, and ultimately the ultimate sacrifice from her to keep Cassian where his head should be on his mission. She doesn't want him to become comfortable. She doesn't want him to settle down and throw everything away that he's worked all this time for, with also the help of a mysterious Force user soothsayer lady who shows up. What did you think to that?
I liked it. It's actually, I had a note about it.
It's like the Force is coming back.
So it reminded me of something I think the fandom has forgotten, which is everything Yoda says in Empire Strikes Back. Because if you actually listen to what he's saying as he's training Luke, the Force isn't so much about ability, it's about certainty.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you use the light side, you clear your mind and you just let the Force channel through you. With the dark side, you assert yourself on the Force. But those are both mean, like, you have to be certain either way, whether you're certain in your logic and emotionlessness or you're certain through your emotions. It's about being certain about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, she mentioned
she's like, these people, they're here. These people, they're here because they have faith. They're always going to come back, whether I'm right, whether the Force is real or not. I can see destiny swirling around you. You are certainty that the Force is real, even if you don't believe it.
I was like, oh God,
Rogue One canonized plot armor.
Well, I was going to say in this, I was getting very much, oh no, Cassian Andor's the chosen one. He's going to bring balance to the Force. Like, oh no.
No, he who comes before.
Yeah, she calls him a messenger, and he's destined for great things. I'm like, he's gonna fax those Death Star plans with that giant antenna. He's gonna get the Death Star plans to where they need to get to. But she mentions that she hasn't felt that ability in a while, and it kind of came back to her, and she felt compelled, she felt drawn to Cassian. And I thought, oh, this is the winds are changing kind of thing. The Force is coming back. She's getting the good life will of the Force energy is coming back. That's what I was getting from that. Did you also get the idea that Bix might be Force sensitive in a small way as well? Because she talks about having the same feeling, and to a lesser degree,
in a Chirrut Imwe kind of way, not so much in like a Jedi what's the word? What are you before you're a prospective Jedi? But there's a specific word for it.
Padawan?
Doesn't matter.
Youngling?
No, that just means child. for some
Well,
reason.
there we go. Sorry, you keep cutting in and out a little bit. I'm just
Hey,
going to bring up
Brinsley.
some of the comments real quick. So we got Carl. He says, "Evening, guys. How you doing, man? Hope you're doing good."
All right,
And Bath
you see
Time
that
says the
ludicrous display last night?
Bath Time says the overhead projector beacons will be lit at sunrise. We video conference, indeed. Bath Time says saw on Twitter that Andor has massively increased Disney Plus subs, and since you seem to have enjoyed this week's lot, seems a productive series so far. Yes. However, we've got one more week of this, and then we're back to the slop pile. Then we're back to Dave Filoni verse. We're back to Mandalorian
We're
and
back to
Grogu.
average Star Wars.
No, fuck you. No, we're back
Yes,
to
that's what the word average means, Chris.
It is going to be hard
That's
readjusting.
what the word means. Kind of like try. I know it's hard for you to understand what words mean.
It's going to be really difficult going back to Disney. Well, I mean, it's already Disney Star Wars, but this just shows the quality of not only just Star Wars or anything, of just writing, direction, just Disney. Fair play to Disney for having the faith.
Well done.
Like the budget for these two series combined is immense, and to take that kind of chance on very much a side character in a spin-off movie is kind of unheard of, with a bigger budget than Kenobi or most of the other shows, actually. But it just goes to show, because you can see the money on screen with this thing, in the sets, the costumes, the way it's shot, the CGI. There's never a moment where it looks off or the quality isn't there. It's absolutely a joy to watch. It really is, and the writing's backing it up with the characters in there and the interplay. We just don't get stuff like this anymore. Not even for Star Wars, we don't. But just movies, period. Like at the moment, so it's so refreshing to just see this level of talent behind it, and it's going to be with a heavy heart next week that this finishes, because I don't think Disney. I mean, I haven't heard that about the subs increasing. If that's the case, then maybe Disney will look at that. But viewing figures, hopefully they boost over time with this, but no one's been watching this show. And I feel like what Disney are going to do with this is they're going to go, well, we tried a dark, serious, intellectual Star Wars property, and no one took to it. No one wanted it. Everyone's completely apathetic on it. Everyone, unfortunately, has turned their backs on it. So we're going to go back to more of the key jangling Filoni-verse and the Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie, whatever the fuck that's going to be, and Tales of the Jedi. Or...
we're gonna fish in all them credits in with a cum net. Hit the butt.
I was genuinely like, I don't know how we can talk about this in this series of episodes, my God, but you found a way. Thank you. A little bit on the nose, but we got it in there. We upheld the tradition of the cum net. I didn't have the cum net last week. I felt very, very upset. There we go.
Put that on a shirt.
There we go. Bathsime says, does fate exist in Star Wars? Yeah, it's the will of the Force, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
God.
Force.
It's God. It's life. It's the little micro.
It's the invisible hand, not the invisible hand, but the invisible hand.
It's Eru Iluvatar. It's the little push that pushes.
It's an invisible hand. It's not General Grievous's flagship, dead ahead, the one crawling with vulture droids.
Oh yes, I see it. Oh, this is going to be easy. We're not doing this. We're not doing this tonight. We could, but we won't. Brinsley says, I'm watching Andor Series 1 with my friends, and they haven't seen Rogue One yet, so going to watch it after 2. That's a question I was going to ask you. I was going to save it to either the end of tonight.
It's a season. It's not a series.
I was either going to bring that question up at the end of our episode tonight, or when we finish season 2. Do you think there's a benefit to watching Rogue, similar to the original trilogy, right? I wouldn't show anyone the prequel. Why are you
asking me this now? Ask me this in 2 weeks.
Well, Brinsley's just mentioned he's showing someone Andor Series 1. They haven't seen Rogue One. I was going to ask you the question now. Like the OT, if someone hasn't watched Star Wars before, I would always recommend they start with the OT. I think it's designed to be that way. The prequels are made with that you've got some preconceived idea of what the rules are and what the characters are and where they're leading to. Do you think you have the same thing with this? Do you think you need to watch Rogue One to know where Saw Gerrera is going to end up, the stuff on Edu and the Death Star and whatnot?
I'm gonna say no because I'm watching it with my roommate, who I've had to be like, no, he's in the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Who does this blaster belong to? He's like, I think it's mine. And he's like, who's that? And I'm like, I think he's in Rogue One.
I wondered that, yeah, because it really focuses on him, doesn't it? And I thought, I don't know who this is. You know when you meet someone and they know you, they like, oh my god, how long's it been? And you're like, yeah,
Too long, my friend.
Yeah, it's that
Hey, there
moment.
he is.
Yes. I think he was the Scottish guy, wasn't he? He was just
Write
sort
that
of
down.
along
Yeah,
for the ride.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, no. Write that down. If that ever happens to you, there he is.
exactly. There we go. We got Ghostbait who says, "Good evening." Jumping ahead a little bit, Ghostbait says, "I have never seen any Star Wars movies." What? What? Really? Wow.
Okay.
I mean, well, thank you for tuning in.
Why are you? Wait. Why are you here?
Go watch.
No,
Star...
I'm not welcome. But why are you watching this stream?
Have you seen Star Wars?
Hang on. Hit the image. Hang on. Put the image in.
Oh, hang on. I'm on it.
Like, that's got to confuse the shit out of you.
Or the come out of you.
What is that? What is that? What do you think that is, Ghostbait? Tell us in the chat, please.
This is the biggest open-ended thing for me so far. I hope B2 Emo is okay. Is he safe? Is he all right? Is he still on the farm planet from the first arc?
Yes. Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
Maybe he's going to be like a
What's
farmer.
What's he going to do? Rebel?
Carl says, "Don't worry, we have a Rey film coming." Oh, fuck!
Several, apparently.
This is what I mean. It was nice while it lasted. I will say as well, the memes for the prequels are everywhere, right? And the OT, especially the prequels, very, very memeable. The sequels, not so much. You didn't really see much. People couldn't really be bothered. The memes for Andor for the last few weeks have been an absolute joy. It's been nice to be in that community again and just see them crop up every now and then. There's been some real good ones. So yeah, long may they reign.
Not the Cumnet though, strangely enough.
Not the Cumnet. We're trying to get it trending. We'll get it trending. Damn it! There it is.
Pass it around, people. Ghostbait, we're looking at you.
Right, let's talk about the episodes. Guys, please keep your comments coming in. I will get to them, but we do need to talk about the episode a little bit more. So we've talked about the whole Bix thing initially, and I mean, I don't know if we want to jump ahead to talk about where that caps off that bookend.
Fuck! Hang on, put Brinsley's thing. The Scottish guy.
Where am I looking?
In the chat. It's the latest thing in the chat.
Oh, Brinsley.
Sorry,
that guy is a prisoner in season 1 of Andor, by the way. Oh, is he?
The one who's blaster who belongs to the blaster.
I mean, I thought he was just the guy in Rogue One. I vaguely recognized him.
Maybe he is. He might be. He could be both.
This is true. Right. So we were talking about Bix. Let's cap that off, I think, and then we can talk about the real meat of this story, which is the Ghorman stuff. Do you think Bix's arc in this, if this is the last time that we see of her, of course, do you think it was a satisfying way to write her out of the series?
I think this is. Like I said, I wouldn't say no to seeing her learn that Cassian is this celebrated hero who gave his life and ensured that the Death Star was going to be destroyed.
Would she know, though? Because wasn't that on a need-to-know basis? And if she's out of the game, would she even have that information?
They're the namesake of Rogue Squadron.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that could be interesting if they go back. Sort of like an end of No Time to Die with Bond, which I hated, but how it gets
actually, that's such a great comic. Actually, hang on, let me just take a. I know this is a tangent, but it does relate to the Rebel Alliance finally like assembles all of their ships, and it's like it's the fleet, like not just the thing that the ships that attack Scarif, but like the rebel fleet that we see in episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
When that first assembled, it was basically immediately attacked by the Empire. All of their communications were down, and so Luke just rallied all of the fighters in the hangar, and he's just like, "Look, we're gonna we know the routines, we know the drills, we can you know how to communicate through hand gestures and through your flying. Is Come on, Rogue Squadron, we're just like we're just like Jyn Erso. We can do this. Let's do this, Rogue Squadron."
Come on, Rogue Squadron. Sorry. Yeah, I deserve that. Okay. So the mission, Wilmon brings...
I walked right into that, though.
You really did. Wilmon approaches Cassian and says that Luthen has a job for them, and that Dedra Meero has been seen on Ghorman. She's out in the open. We need to go and assassinate her. I don't really know what that would have achieved, really, unless they think that she was the smoking gun, if she was the one who was issuing the orders on this whole campaign.
Yeah, and they also, she's very publicly been the face of the oppression of Ghorman.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can agree it's also 80% personal for them.
Well, it's the chain of command, isn't it? Because later on they bring in that what's his name, the captain guy that the Empire brings in, and he says like, "I'm the trigger man, and you're the finger on the button," or whatever. He says something like that he has to get the order from Dedra first, and then he has ultimate military control on Ghorman. Essentially, at that point.
Was that a woman thing, by the way? There was that a women aren't respected in the Empire moment?
I mean, it could be, but I think Dedra is very well respected because Partagaz says,
but just the way that guy was like talking to her, he's just like, I'm here to get shit done, but let's not forget the chain of command. I'm the trigger man. You're the finger.
No, I don't think it was like, oh, you're a woman or anything like that. I think he is the guy you send in.
Remember, we don't know if it's an uphill battle for her because she's a woman or because she's from a Kinderblock.
I think it's an interesting thing you brought up because I know you mentioned
trash.
You mentioned that in our season 1 recap, and I never even considered it. When you see her sitting at the round table at the ISB, yeah, she is a woman in a man's world, essentially, isn't she? Yeah. So, although it's not explicitly said, it is in the subtext there that it probably would be difficult or damn near impossible for a woman to rise up that far.
It's explicitly said that she is fighting an uphill battle, that that someone like her has not been in ISB before.
Mm-hmm.
That subtext is definitely that she's a woman. I've realized that on stream twice.
Mm-hmm. What's really incredible to see, but also harrowing when we get to episode 8 of this, which is one of the finest episodes of TV I think I've ever seen in my life.
Episode 8 is fantastic.
Yeah.
Andor's pretty good too.
Yeah. Is how meticulous this slow plan that the Empire has crafted has just come to fruition over all these years. And whilst I do think that a lot has been lost, unfortunately, with some of the character development and some arcs that do feel a little bit rushed or superfluous, what I do appreciate about the structure of season 2 is that it's really helped the sense of how long this plan has gone on for. And I've seen some people say, well, they're the Empire, from day one, why couldn't they have just rushed in there with all of their Star Destroyers and all of their Stormtroopers and just taken what they wanted on the planet? Why did they have to construct this whole convoluted, meticulous plan? Well, it's because Ghorman's a very well-respected planet and manufacturer. Like, they're popular. They couldn't just roll up. This all fits their narrative, and we see that from the propaganda, the news reports, bringing in a lot of real world stuff into this episode, which I think really made it more affecting. Not much stuff now kind of elicits much of an emotion from me, and that's just because most writing and stuff isn't done very well. It doesn't move me, but the build-up of episode 7 into 8 my God, it's it's hard hitting stuff, and I think it's damn near
Also,
impossible not to bring in real world parallels to it at the same time.
also, another reason the Empire hasn't just gone in and taken it is they've also spent the time that Dedra has been stoking the fire on Ghorman, basically trying to make that work redundant, but on Edu. They're like, let's
Yes.
see if we can get Galen Urso and his team to synthesize a fake one, so we don't have to destroy this planet. But
well, I was going to mention this because it's needed for the lenses on the Death Star, right? They mentioned that they need the substance to coat the lenses in something, right? Okay, so did they just have an extra stock of this still remaining on Ghorman when they built the second Death Star, or did the Edu team finally crack a synthesized version?
You're assuming. So remember, I know you don't like them, but the sequels are canon, so they weren't just building the Death Star. They were also, at this point, building Starkiller Base.
Fuck you, I don't care. Let's keep it to the originals. Did they go back to Ghorman and mine more shit?
No, literally at this point, they've been working on Starkiller Base for
take it out of the equation.
10 years.
Let's keep it on the 6. Let's keep it on the 6 because this hadn't been created.
The answer is still they had more. Like whether or not they were building,
they had a stockpile.
Base or not, they had more. Like it's from Ghorman.
Okay, that's fair enough. I will say though, 19 years to build the first Death Star? Real quick turnaround on that second one.
Yeah, EU, assuming it wasn't already under construction during A New Hope, and also assuming that, in Legends it was not, the one at the end of Revenge of the Sith is not the Death Star at the from A New Hope.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah, no, prototype. Yeah, they just wanted to make sure it works.
Oh, that's kind of dumb. I don't like that. That's dumb.
The Emperor had a lot of super weapons, including just prototype Death Stars. Not just the proto Death Star. You've also got the Darksaber, which is just the laser part. There's no
do you have the Galaxy Gun? Was that his thing as well?
Yeah, the Galaxy Gun was a thing. The World Devastators.
Yeah. Good old Dark Empire, right?
He didn't make, but I think he did commandeer Center Point Station.
I tell you which character that I tell you which character I absolutely love in this series so far, both series. I fucking love Partagaz. He's just so great. What I like about is what? Sorry, Qyburn from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
He's outstanding.
Did they say his name ever?
Yes, multiple times. I think the actor's great. I love the way he sort of carries himself, and just the way he talks and addresses the council is really cool. But I like the chain of
needed an Emperor cameo.
Yeah.
He'd manage. He'd be fine. No one would complain.
Yeah, so what I like about it is the chain of command and the need to know, and how all information is compartmentalized. You can run it all up the chain of command. So you've got Cyril on planet, who is there to sort of pass on any information of any rebellions or any insurgencies that happen on the planet, and he feeds that back. Little does he know, he's just a puppet. And, above that, you've got Dedra, who's controlling everything. But then there's a higher chain of command, and you've got Partagaz and everyone else. And, of course, you've got the Emperor. You've got this Captain Kaido, I just found his name, who shows up. You've got all these different factions that have a privy to certain amounts of information regarding this plan. And, yeah, it's wonderful to see it all unfold, and just very, very tragic at the same time. But a masterstroke for the Empire, for sure. I guess that sort of leads us into episode 8. So all through episode 7, it's building tension. I think when we get to episode 8 and we see the protests in the street and the riots, and you've got the SWAT guys with the riot shields coming in and everything, it's very reminiscent of the last arc of season 1, but much more well, just as impactful. I love the ending of season 1, but this was very, very harrowing stuff to watch, and I think it's very, very difficult to not watch this and be moved in some way.
What's the name of the Weasley guy? The smooth guy, smooth faced friend, little guy from Krennic, from Ferrix.
What are you Wilmon?
Wilmon. The hotel guy is Ghorman's Wilmon.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, my dad was killed by the Empire at the first Ghorman massacre. Then shit hits the fan. He's like, well, I've got this pipe bomb for specifically this occasion.
And he also is the founder of Rebellions Are Built on Hope. He was the one who
he coined that.
Yeah, he did. So there we go. We have him to contribute.
I was wondering how you felt about that, actually.
I'm not keen on that line. I don't know if it's just Jyn Erso's delivery of that line, and I don't know whether I was more critical of her lines because the trailer had her saying some really cringe shit, which thankfully they removed from the final release.
You're all rebels. I rebel.
I hate it. Oh god, it's awful. It's so bad. So yeah, I'm glad they got rid of some of the stuff like that. But I think the benefit of this is that we have spent time with these characters in the previous arc. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be able to tell you what all of their names are, and that could be a bit of a slight against it. But nonetheless, I feel like whether you connect with the actual characters or not, you connect with their struggle. And if you've just got any shred of humanity in you, that, as I say, it's very difficult not to be moved by the ship. And I think that the very fact that you can draw so many parallels to it, and it is a little bit on the nose. It is very French resistance. It's very or French Revolution as well in some aspects to it. I think are in there as well. It's damn near impossible not to bring those real world comparisons into it, which I think help to allow you to empathize or sympathize with the situation.
I had a note here that just a little a bit of humorous dialogue that my roommate and I wrote during episode 8. Just imagine this. Imagine, the senator from Ghorman.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine him just like sitting in his office, alert on his thing, and he hits it, and the guy with the skull face, with the nose, who says it's a trap.
Yes. Yeah.
It's him on the line. He's like, oh, how's the protest going? They're going to need a bigger monument.
Oh no.
It was right. The massacre is right next to the monument, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're gonna need a bigger monument.
The tension in this scene, man. Oh, when that chant starts, the world is watching or whatever they. I should know what they say because they say it enough.
They said it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. The galaxy is watching.
I remember asking,
we are the Ghor.
Wait, so who are these people? Who are these people, and who can see this again? I forget.
Do you play the Ghor drinking game? Every single time they say we are the Ghor, the galaxy is watching. When I did my rewatch before the stream, I was actually going to try and count it. I got to like 20 and I just stopped counting because I was just watching the episode.
And then you realized you stopped watching the scene.
Yeah,
exactly. You know that scene when Cassian looks through the rifle and he sees Dedra immediately, like you get a close up of her, and then she turns around and walks inside.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like you're playing Assassin's Creed 1. You get to the location where your target is, and you're like, there he is, and then the camera it glitches, and then it zooms in, and then there's like, you remember they walk inside. It's like, I'll have to scale the walls to get there. I was like, but she was just on the balcony. Why didn't you shoot him then?
Mm-hmm.
He was right there. Why did I have to go to the crowd and look up when I could have scaled that building and got on the balcony now?
Yeah, I think maybe it was just that the pressure. He had one shot at this because if he missed or he screwed that up, everyone would be on lockdown and they wouldn't get anywhere close to her.
I mean, actually, everything, if he shot her, everything would have been exactly the same, except she would have been dead.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So this is what Luthen wanted. And I think we're going to get a confession about that next episode before Luthen's definite death. Like, Bix is going to live through this. Great. Good for her. Luthen is fucking dead. He's so dead. Like, they have been foreshadowing this since season 1, and they've been hammering it home every single arc. You know they'll hang us at the end of this.
I think he needs to. I am going to bring up something about, I mean, that's jumping ahead to episode 9 a little bit, but how he's brazenly walking through sunlit Coruscant now. He's not in costume. He's not in performance mode. He is just Luther. They're quite openly meeting and very clearly conspiring with each other. So I feel like everything's in motion now. Over. Yeah. So he's throwing caution to the wind. We've seen him come apart at the seams the last few episodes of this season, which I was initially against, but if we're seeing where it's heading to, where he's, I guess, like Saw Gerrera, but probably a more cleverer way to get him out of there. You know how Saw in Rogue One's just like, I will run no longer. It's like, why?
I will run no longer. Yeah.
It's like, what? It's like, why?
No,
Whereas I think this might be actually leading to the same eventuality as that, but make a lot more sense in the moment.
By the way, I had an idea. Like, you know how I love my real life politics in Star Wars? Like, actually, like, I love references to real life political events in Star Wars. Even when they're by accident, like the president being impeached. Because while Clinton was impeached before Phantom Menace came out, that was written before before the Lewinsky thing. So it's interesting. Anyway, I thought it would have been really cool. Well, not cool. It would have added to just how fucking awful the Empire was if when Cassian is like looking through his scope and or not looking at his scope, when he first looks out at the what's the word, courtyard or whatever it is, and he's like, they're making a fortress. He's trying to warn them like shit's about to go down. There should have been Imperials moving a pallet of bricks and construction equipment and then just leaving it.
Bricks and screws. Oh no, what would Star Wars Theory think? Well, he's jettisoned from this show. After the previous arc, he was like, I'm not doing it anymore because I'm tired of people being mad at me.
I have no idea what you're talking about with the bricks and screws thing. I'm just
that was his biggest criticism of season 1. He says there was too much real world shit in there, like bricks and screws.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Sorry. You just mentioned that.
No, you're right. That's definitely worth bringing up in this series, especially because I didn't know that. But no, at many real life protests, like during the Black Lives Matter movement, police and city workers were seen leaving pallets of bricks at places where they knew protests were going to be happening, and all these bricks are here and these people are very upset and they started throwing them, and now the police have an excuse to get more violent.
Yeah, I mean the fact that
we should have seen more like set up like that.
Just to bring up this comment from Brinsley, totally. Yeah. You knew what was coming, but it was so tense to watch. Yeah, it was. The fact that all of this started as well with friendly fire as well from that Empire guy that shoots his own. They get all of the green new recruits in and just hem them out there like fucking cattle for the slaughter. And even the guy who's like the leader of men, whose task is to try and train them up and get them moving. He knows something's amiss as well. But the guy, that Captain Kaido's like, if you don't comply, you and your men will spend the rest of your life in an Imperial brig. And you're like,
he just said the rest of the day, but still.
Yeah. But that friendly fire shot, man.
For Connor Williams.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Connor Williams says,
what the fuck is Alani?
Let me, I think Luthen will task Lonnie with getting to the bottom of what the Empire wanted on Ghorman. Lonnie's sector includes Scarif, so I think Lonnie will leak the existence of the Death Star to Luthen. But Dedra will get suspicious.
Is Lonnie the ginger guy?
Yes, yeah. But Dedra will get suspicious of Lonnie's
Probably
outsized interest in Ghorman, and she will set a trap which exposes Lonnie and Luthen and Clea. Luthen will pass the information about the Death Star to the rebels. It would explain how the Alliance knows about the Death Star at the start of Rogue One. I think it needs to culminate with Luthen being apprehended by the Empire or the ISB at least, because there needs to be a moment where I think it'd be cool if he got Lonnie to sort of kill him, so that he doesn't get tortured or bend under pressure. And I think because we've because we've had so many scenes with Luthen and Lonnie.
This is why I made you stay.
I think if we don't get that scene, it will be a huge missed opportunity.
It won't take them long to realize what you did. You have to get out of here. Find job. That's not me acting. That's me doing the voice.
But if we do get that in the next, I mean, that's going to be intense as fuck. But just seeing Skarsgård being able to act alongside, Dedra or Partagaz, or God, wow. I hope. So my two biggest hopes are that
learn about the Death Star. They can't learn about it. This one guy needs to learn it from the pilot from Jeddah.
Yeah,
and then he needs to tell Cassian.
I really want the fight. They've said that the final scene might tie directly into Rogue One. I want that guy with the gammy arm from the beginning of Rogue One, where he's like, "I can't climb my arm." Just get him in.
No, that's the guy. That's what I'm saying. He needs to be the one that tells them about it. So therefore, we can't the rebels can't learn about the Death Star at the end of this.
Yeah, Brinsley says, Star Wars Theory finally realized he should stop talking and had bad takes. The comments were brilliant. He was like, I'm not going to talk about Andor anymore. And the top comment was like, we don't want you to talk about Star Wars anymore. This is just...
Oh.
He was saying like, all Andor fans are elitist. It's like, no, we're not. It's just that you have such fucking bad takes on this show.
That is... No. Hang on. That is so fucking hypocritical of him. That I can't. He like at one point he talked about how he gets how his fans get singled out by the sequel fans. Wait a second. So is it bad to single out the fans or not? Like, is it bad to group all of these fans into one to isolate all of these fans as one group or not? Because you just said that one specific group that you isolated is guilty of isolating your fans.
I remember the stream when it came out. He lauded episode 9 when that came out because it was popular. It's popular for his channel, and then as the winds change, as the tide turns, so does he.
Because it was popular. It's because it was Filoni porn.
Well, and then
he looked at it in such a superficial way as Disney listened to us.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
That's
that
the
bit
problem.
You know that bit in Ahsoka where Anakin vaded for like a frame and everyone lost their shit?
Masterpiece. Oh my God.
There's a reaction of Theory just like jizzing in his pants over that scene. I'm like, he has been preaching.
It was cool.
He was like,
cool.
he wants good quality Star Wars stories and writing and character development, and he finally has a show
what do you that has that means?
He finally has a show that has that in spades, and he jetsons from this season and misses out on some of the best Star Wars shit that has ever been created since its inception. Like, fuck you. Sorry. I just had to get that off my chest.
Remember in the first stream when we were like, there's a Star Wars YouTuber. I'm not going to say his name, but you might have a theory as to who we're talking about.
We're like Luther. We're just throwing caution to the wind. Fuck it.
Ghorman. Yeah, no, his live stream was our Ghorman.
Brinsley says, so we think Luthen is done for. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. And you know what? I'm fine with that.
It's what's the word? It's what his character more or less deserves.
Yeah. Speaking of characters getting what they deserve, let's talk about Cyril and Dedra, because this was some of my.
I was wondering what you were gonna, if that's what you were segueing into. I'm like, you think he deserved that?
This was probably some of my favorite stuff. The guy who plays Cyril as well, this is probably his most standout performance of the character for me. The journey that his character's gone on. And again, because this is set a year after the previous arc, we do miss out on a lot, but it's always in the back of our mind that he has spent like a year plus with these people and this community and this culture.
Yeah.
Like he is as much as Gore, a Gore as anyone really. He spent time with them, and yeah, he has still been there for nefarious purposes, but nowhere near as nefarious. Because okay, let's break it down. Because Cyril ultimately isn't a bad guy. And that's what I love about this show is that even people in the Empire, they're doing it for all of their own ends and stuff, but they are still just people inherently. Some with more of a humanity than others. But when we first meet Cyril in season 1, he's just a guy doing his job. He's trying to be an upstanding citizen, and look out when some of his colleagues are killed, he's just trying to do the right thing.
He's just a coworker that we all hate.
Yeah. He's a bit of an ass licker. He's a bit of a bootlicker. You can see he's trying to rise up the ranks. But
he's not a bootlicker. He's an ass sticker. He's got a stick up his ass. It's not because the person in charge isn't who he's kissing up to. It's just the rules.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? I can't help but congratulate him in the first couple of episodes. How he's just trying to do the right thing. Where even though those colleagues were pieces of shit, when they're saying, "Oh, we'll sweep it under the rug," men have lost their lives. They had families and whatnot. He's trying to do the right. You're kind of on his side a little bit, and yeah, he is very weaselly, and he doesn't have the command of the people. But ultimately, he's not a bad guy. He does want to improve himself, and that's sort of the pressure from his mom and also from Dedra as well. But that line that she shoots him with in this, where she says, I didn't hear you complaining about the promotions." And I think that is the straw that breaks the camel's back during this whole confrontation. But that power shift where he just comes in all guns blazing, and he's like got her by the throat, and good character stuff, man. How the the turns have tabled. Yeah, a little bit.
I love you can a good show like this in Game of Thrones and stuff. You can tell it's well written when you have characters actively working against each other and you are rooting for all of them.
Yeah.
Less Game of Thrones. You probably haven't seen it. Black Sails.
I haven't got around to that yet, but I have heard it's fantastic. I will get around to that.
Through season 1, and the ending is a little weak.
As is most shows. That's why I'm really hoping that this sticks the landing. But we already kind of have an ending anyway. So do you know what I mean? So like, even if next week's isn't great,
no, we know the show actually ends pretty well.
Yes, yeah. So we're all good.
The 5th arc of this season is pretty good.
Yes, among the best. I think for me, this stands toe to toe with the prison break.
I was talking about Rogue One.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
The 5th arc this season.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to find the name of the actress. Denise Gough, I think her name is, who plays Dedra. She needs to be nominated for an Emmy for this.
Gough.
Gough.
She looks like a Gough.
I love that power shift. How this is the first moment of visible frailty and weakness that we've seen from her. And you can tell that she's someone that suppressed all of this. She, as we see in the first arc, where she's trying to put on a face, she's trying to smile. She's forgotten what smiling feels like. Yes, she has had a tragic upbringing and whatnot, but with the nature of her job,
when her parents were like junkie criminals.
Yeah. But the nature of her job and her standing in the ISB, it makes sense. But this moment, and the final scene of her is some of the best acting I've seen in, these 3 episodes, but across both the seasons, where the command's given, the carnage is raging outside, and it cuts to her reaction inside, where she's isolated. She's taken herself into a quiet room, and we just see the many stages of grief that she's going through and trying to process everything that's happened.
I have a note for that part when I wrote, here are Dedra's options. Either she killed Cyril, or he wants absolutely nothing to do with her, because they're not going to find his body. So as far as she is concerned, he has just disappeared from her life.
She does make one ditch effort to try and get him.
He might as well be dead.
Yeah. She does make one last ditch effort to bring him back in, though, doesn't she? Like after their altercation, she says, find Cyril.
Yeah, what you mean when he gets elbowed in the head?
Mm-hmm.
You mean when we see him get elbowed in the head?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You saw that too? Be nice to the extras, people.
Yeah, love Dedra. So where does she go from here then? Because either she's gonna suppress all of this.
This is all she's got left.
You think I was gonna say because she's lost Cyril. It reminded me actually. I was gonna bring this comparison up to you of sort of Anakin and Padme. How she's like, come away with me, like help me raise our child. Let's we can have this normal life together. And it's like, it ain't gonna be that way. You're going down a path I can't follow.
And the interesting thing is like Dedra's idea, Dedra's going back to the Empire makes much more sense because she had the Empire before Cyril and she'll have the Empire after Cyril. That's how breakups work.
Mm-hmm.
The Empire was new with Anakin.
Yeah.
Like we've got this new thing. It's called fascism. It's great. Love it. It's like it's where we take all the undesirables and we catch them in a net made of something questionable, and we just drown them.
Well, if it works.
You're making fun of me.
No. I'd be much too afraid to say. Anyway,
tease a senator.
That's it. Connor says, I love this detail as well. Yeah, the Imperial uniform being presented as a straitjacket as she has a panic attack was brilliant, but she still straightens the uniform because it's all she's ever known. It's her armor. Yeah, wonderful stuff. Just, I like how it jump cuts because
so much poetic so many different shit has been written about those two this episode.
Yeah, quite rightly so. It's all there, man. It's all there. It's so good. What I love as well is, and fair play to the dialect. I guess the one who created this language, the Ghorman language. It's very French. When I watch it, I feel like I'm just watching French, and it's intentionally so. But it is an original alien language that brings in elements of French and German. But they did. I
speak some French. That's not French. Mm-hmm. That was not French. There wasn't French in that.
The vowel sounds are very French,
the accent was French. The accent was French, but I think the words were Germanic.
Yeah. Well, they cast a lot of French actors as well, so that checks out because they wanted it to be sort of authentic.
Connor said it there.
Yeah. I think it's a wonderful blend, to be honest. I do hear more French in it personally. Just my ear.
You're gonna hear the French because it's the accent. Like they're saying German like French. That you're not gonna hear German.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hear French wrong.
Yeah. But just even though we've only had one arc before this, granted it's 3 hours of screen time, but it really did make the difference in that you're seeing all of these people at play and familiar faces during all of this. I was going to mention one thing. They bring out the droids, the Imperial droids, the K2 droids, if you will. By the way, that scene where they lead Cyril into that room, chilling. And that one's just staring at him like, fucking make your move. Like,
as soon as when I saw that one staring at him, like you could cut the tension in the room with a knife.
Yeah.
And then it was like you cut it with. Wait, so is that one going to be Alan Tudyk?
That's what I thought. Yeah, I like to think that was him. But I was going to mention that. So they released them out into the crowd, and at first I could see that these are basically Terminators. These are like like T-800s marching out.
I literally did that beat in my chair. Like,
And like Terminator, well, the later Terminator films, when people have plot armor and they want to have a fight with the Terminator, these are machines that are they know every bit of human anatomy. They could kill you with like a punch to the heart. They could just tear off your head or rip out your spinal column. They always just throw people. I'm like, why are you just throwing people?
But they still do that in this. but it kills
but
them.
But it works.
I
Yeah.
I have a note here, and I'm glad I didn't specify because I knew exactly who I was talking about. If this were Lord of the Rings, she would be fine.
Wait, who throws? Okay, if someone gets thrown. Are we talking about? If
Oh
this
my
were
God! Everybody's just falling on their face and falling off of things and like in Lord of the Rings, all the Sam down the path of Kirathungal, down the stairs. It's so he lived on his face. You know, there's Frodo in Lothlorien. You got Gimli countless times. You got Legolas never.
I think a better example is Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones when he fights Jango on Camino.
No, because at least he's got the Force. Because we see him in.
But he's locked onto
see,
him. He's locked onto him, and it just blows up around him and just makes him fall over a bit. Yeah, yeah, it happens so much.
That's the sound. That was. I really nailed that.
But yeah, so it was nice to see that similar trope of these robots just throwing people, but it actually being successful, and they were terrifying.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to bring up to you: there's a moment where Cassian's trying to hold one off with like a blaster rifle, and it's not doing anything. It's just like ping, 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 and it's still walking towards him. Willman comes in with a blaster. I'm like, K2 gets jackhammered with the same rifles in Rogue One.
With more of them. And he's getting shot a lot in Rogue One.
There are more of them, and but that first shot
still has time to give a message.
There's that first shot before they all come rushing in. He's like, get to yeah. But it still does damage. It still perforates his armor. Is this a case that the armor is weak underneath the armpit and at the neck or something?
I would say that where they were hitting him, which was very chest shots, that would be where the armor is at its thickest.
Okay. And then there are moments where just at the last minute, there's a little bit of
blaster shots don't kill him in Rogue One. It is suicide. He short circuits himself to destroy the console.
He was getting there though, wasn't he? He was getting there.
He was definitely getting there.
There's a little bit of plot armor come in where all hope is lost, and then someone T-bones
not just somebody
into a wall.
Cinta's death was not for nothing.
Yeah. Now I must admit, I've been watching. I've been watching season 2, thinking, when are we gonna get Cassian with K2? I thought we'd have this from day one.
I forgot he was gonna be in it. Honestly, I have not been thinking this.
Because when we see them in Rogue One, they seem like they've been lifelong best buddies. They've known each other for years. In context of this, they've known each other for a little over like a year and a half.
Rogue One, a lot of character credit.
No, I don't know. I got that camaraderie between the two, that bickering back and forth a little bit. I feel like these two have been through like a lot together, like a long amount of time.
Well, we've got another 2 years until Rogue One. I don't think I don't see decades of history. I don't see like a Chewbacca relationship here.
Mm-hmm. But I was like,
maybe I'll go. I'll turn around on that on when we watch Rogue One. Maybe I'll be like, yeah, you know what? There is a little. It seems a little older than it is. We'll see.
But did you think the whole idea of him saying, "Hey, I need another favor. Let's scrape this Imperial droid off the floor because I want to repurpose it." It felt like, we need to tie this back into Rogue One, don't we? It felt like that situation,
exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, that wouldn't be on your mind at all to go. Let's use this droid.
Here is so that note wasn't from that. That note was from when he says, "Hey, wait, I help me get this onto my ship." When because I'm like, okay, this episode felt like a third episode. It felt like we're about to get another. I'm almost ready, like for the time skip, and we could just infer everything else that happened with the reaction and the formation of the alliance. But if it were Cassian taking K2 at the end, there would have felt so forced. Like, we need to do this to set up Rogue One. But it wasn't. That was episode 2. So in the third one, they'll have a chance to make that worth it. And then at the end of the third one, it's exactly as arbitrary as they set it up.
Yeah.
It was entirely pointless. We did not need that. He could have just showed up in the next episode.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I like the bit was like, have I offended you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is great to have K2
you're
back.
Aiming a gun at me. According to Chris, like, can you believe that Cassian straight up tried to kill K2 when he woke up like that? Guys, can you believe Cassian actually tried to kill K2 there, according to Chris?
It's one thing I wanted to bring up
because
I thought I know we need an origin story for K2. We do. But this just felt like in this situation, scraping up a recently destroyed droid that's just murdered a shit ton of people for what? It felt like, you know, in Game of Thrones where Jon...
No. You're looking at it as a person, though. You're looking at K2 as a person. He saw a weapon and a computer.
It felt like, you know, in Game of Thrones where Jon's like,
friend.
We need to convince Cersei to help us, so I'm gonna bring a White Walker like to her very doorstep. It was like, oh yeah,
that's a terrible idea. It would work.
It just
there
felt
are better ideas, but you know,
it felt a little bit arbitrary just to tie that into a neat little bow, I guess is what I'm saying.
Alex Knight does it so well. I mean, you saw. By the way, did you read my messages about Game of Thrones when I went on that little rant yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Connor says, I think it echoed Andor's line to Luthen in Arc 2. We aren't droids, Luthen. Cyril locking eyes with the KX droid like a mirror. He can either stand by and do nothing or act. They did a good job of shooting the massacre like a slaughter rather than a battle, intimate and disorientating in pure chaos. Yeah. They did a good job of approximating the atmosphere of a near-human crew. Yeah, totally. Just masterful direction across the board. There's so much I could say about this that, you know, it's just what a thing that you have to experience. I will never forget that first viewing of that episode. I was left, it completely rocked my world last night watching these episodes. And even watching it again.
We haven't talked about episode 9 at all.
No, let's talk about episode 9 now, because I've just seen the time. Yeah, we need to talk about episode 9. Another quality episode. It's like, how can they follow episode 8 up? And by God, they do an amazing job of it. Welcome to the Rebellion.
I've got a note for when Bail is telling Mon Mothma that he has to stick around and he has to no, you need to go to the Rebellion. I still have things I need to do here. I'm just like, Mon, don't you understand? I need to remain a senator so I can get blown up on Alderaan.
For Alderaan reasons. He does show up in Rogue One. He emerges out of the shadows.
He does. And then goes back to Alderaan.
Have you seen the... I've seen a lot of comments about this. It's really funny, saying that I think it's really brave that Bail Organa sent his decoy or his cousin or his brother to fill in for his position as
we
a smoke
brave,
screen.
Your Highness.
Yeah, exactly. And then the real Bail shows up again in Rogue One.
He's already on Yavin, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so I mentioned to you earlier, I sent you a voice note. I said, can I mention something very controversial about Bail Organa in this?
Yes, and I didn't see that till hours later, so I was like, at this point, you might as well save it for the stream.
Yeah, and I didn't mention what it was. Okay, so...
You like him better than Jimmy Smits?
Yes.
Yeah, that's because... Yeah, that's fine.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Jimmy Smits hasn't been given great direction, too.
Jimmy Smits is great, and he is Bail Organa, and it is weird to me. I still don't like the recast. I know why they had to do it. I still don't understand how they couldn't get their schedules aligned in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, what do I know?
It's just how shooting schedule works, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, this is like, it all had to line up with, when they were, not only when they were filming that, but also not when they're filming something else in the exact same place.
Yeah. So we get Benjamin Bratt, and I think how they handled this was absolutely the right thing to do. How we got that small cameo with him in the previous arc, just to get you
conversation going,
get you used to that switch. Because I think if they had have just dropped it on us in this,
out of the way, we'll talk about it. Yeah.
It was a perfect way to do it, and I must admit, as soon as he showed up, I was totally fine with it, and I was on board. Not 100% fine, because just for the sake of immersion and continuity, it is nice
You
when you can
were
get
as
the same
fine with
actor.
it as Ewan McGregor for Obi-Wan, despite the age difference. Difference?
Yeah, the age difference doesn't work at all, but you're like, okay,
Exactly.
well, this is set before, but this is more awkward than that because we've had Jimmy Smits in the prequels, we've had him in Rogue One, and we've had him in Kenobi as well.
No,
So
I mean, no. Rogue One, prequels and Kenobi go together for Jimmy Smits, and then you get Rogue One Jimmy Smits, and this in the middle. That's the weird thing.
yeah,
But I will point out we also have that with Mon Mothma, but
yes, we do.
it makes much more sense.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's just that you've got that one sandwiched in there where one of these things is not like the other. But I will
And so,
say,
do you understand why the solution is obviously to replace Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi, not everything else?
yeah, yeah, totally. But I think he captured the mannerisms very well. As you mentioned, you've got the writing behind him in this one, and I think he fit right in. I was also kind of getting Billy D. Williams vibes about him a little bit. He's the same like sort of swagger, like bravado, a little bit of how he spoke. I don't know, just a little bit.
I think it's the
bit.
cape. I think it was the
Yeah,
cape.
it might be the cape. It might be the cape.
It's
But
got a
yeah,
lot of
just
capes.
the inner workings of the
I
Senate,
heard the
like
Dragon Queen say that.
my God, we wanted some Coruscant Senate scenes, and we got them. We got them
We
in
got
spades.
the Coruscant Senate. As soon as I knew this was I knew like, okay, Mon Mothma's about to leave the Senate. I know this for a fact. I was like, oh, okay. When I saw that they were on Yavin, my note said, okay, I guess this takes place after season 3 of Rebels. And then I saw Mon Mothma on Coruscant. I was like, I guess this place takes place during season 3 of Rebels. Um, and it just this is what a great this is the end of the Imperial Senate as the Imperial Senate before it is just an arbitrary.
For its
We're
dissolved.
saying arbitrary a lot but not before it's dissolved, because it's got another few years before it's dissolved, but it's no longer even a Senate at this point.
We got that cool
Like
Oathkeeper guy again
the
who shows
gap
up.
between what is known and what is said is a chasm.
And the tension in this scene as well. I mean, you have the plot running where Mon Mothma, as soon as she does this speech, she's a hired hits are going to be after her left, right, and center. You've got Bail Organa's people that are there to escort her. That team has become compromised. You've got Luthen at play who's trying to get her to safety. But what I love about it as well is based on.
I do have a problem with her speech, though.
Oh, go on.
We caught a glimpse of it in Rebels, and it did not overlap.
That's fine. I don't care about Rebels, so it's fine. I don't give a shit.
They've
got helicopter lightsabers. They got helicopter lightsabers. I don't care.
Problem?
I
shoot you and stab you.
I don't give a flying lightsaber fuck about Rebels. Okay, I'm good.
You should watch that episode between the next. Sure. Definitely.
Sure. So yeah, you have. But what I really like is the interplay between her and Luthen. How he's like, "I'm trying to get you to safety. Trust me. I've got a guy who's going to be there." She says, "Why the fuck should I trust you?" Because now, yeah, you had no qualms about killing my best friend as soon as there was a sense of danger there that he could like blow the whistle on all of this. I'm now in that same situation. I'm essentially like damaged goods at this point. If I'm apprehended, then I'm gonna bow to torture. Probably I'm gonna confess about you and this whole operation, and everything comes down. So I like that she's in a situation where she can't trust anyone. She is so alone in this situation. And again, the acting here from the woman who plays Mon Mothma.
Say something about that scene real quick? To anyone who has watched this episode, who has been to the Museum of Science in Boston. Isn't that exactly what that spot that they were talking at looked like? Like
they did say where they filmed that, I think, didn't they?
Looks just like this one spot at the Museum of Science in Boston. Just like the way the window is. Yeah.
Bath Time says switched off to avoid spoilers for episode 8 because it sounded good. Have you finished discussing it? We've finished discussing episode 8,
9.
But it's still going to carry over information from the previous episodes.
We're still talking about the Bath Time. Come on.
Let's talk about her speech then. So it opens up to the floor. Bail Organa comes out and he exercises some bullshit loophole.
No. Wait. Before Bail Organa comes out, we see a senator. We see a senator yield to Bail Organa, and I gotta throw something out there. Looking at that outfit, and looking at just like what that woman looks like, and I think that woman is the successor of one of the people from the from the something of 2000. I'm pretty sure she's from the same planet as the guy from New Zealand with the beard.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, we surely the Chancellor will listen to us now that we've brought up his history.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I can't say that. You're still reading that. You haven't.
I'm still reading. I'm 4 hours away from finishing it. I'm nearly there. Grievous has just been taken care of. I'm on to the next bit now. Bail Organa exercises a bullshit loophole where he says that I am allowed to defer or allowed someone to speak without any interruption, and I call Mon Mothma to the stand, essentially. What did you think to this speech? Because I've heard mixed things, mostly positive about this speech, but do you think it was damning enough? Do you think she could have gone a little bit more hard-hitting towards the Emperor? Did it seem a bit too generalized, do you think?
I just think that my only problem with the speech is that this one line from Rebels wasn't in it.
What's the line?
It's talking about Ghorman. It's the something about the massacre on Ghorman shows this about the Empire, and that our self-appointed emperor is nothing more than a something.
Right. Okay. I mean, maybe you could get that in there with AI, maybe, if you do want to have that crossover.
I don't need AI. I've got her audio.
More importantly, do you see like a hologram of her? Is she wearing the same outfit? Because that's going to be a bigger issue.
Good point. Hang on a second. God damn it. Oh wait. Actually, she might be.
Oh, okay. I mean, if she is, then great. But yeah, she openly condemns Palpatine, and it was this moment I thought, if you're gonna have a cameo from the Emperor, have him come out in his little Senate pod and be like, "I could throw the shit out of the Senate at you if I want to." Like,
she's not.
Oh, ooh.
Okay, so I guess we must assume that this is a broadcast she delivers before getting picked up by Gold Squadron.
Sure.
That's all I can assume.
Or is she in a Senate pod?
She's not. No. It's just we just see her.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a hologram.
So it would have been cool to see Palpatine on a little Senate pod with Mass Amida at his side, perhaps, and Sly Moore. I know her name now. The bold Cenobite chick. Oh no, you frozen. You froze in the best pose. That was amazing.
Did you see my tongue?
I didn't see the tongue, thank Christ, but I did see the hands. I just want to see Palpatine just throwing Senate pods at everyone. What was the conversation of that the day after? You know, like after he completely trashed the Senate?
Take it up with the cleaning staff. He had droids clean it up, I'm assuming. No questions. Erase their memories.
I shall have words with the cleaning lady. We haven't got a cleaning lady. Then I shall hire one and have words with her.
By the way, speaking of Masamita, have you gotten to the part where Anakin like greets Masamita and they just pass each other and it's
No,
over?
not yet. I don't think so.
Okay, because there's literally like it's just this offhanded thing where it's just like he greeted Anakin with what looked to be the approximation of a human sneer, but actually for his species was a smile.
Oh, right.
So I guess that's why he's got resting bitch face. He's
I
really happy.
I am smiling. I want to know who this Oathkeeper is. He's like my favorite character this season. I fucking love
He
him.
looks like one of the prophets from Halo.
I've never played Halo, so I can't comment on that.
Specifically Halo 2 Anniversary, because they had a company do the cinematics that are awesome.
He just reminds me of Immortan Joe from Mad Max, how he's leading this rallying cry like, "Join me and you will enter the gates of Valhalla." Like he's decked out in this like glamorous ceremonial robe as he addresses the council. It's some good shit, man.
Honestly, your voice kind of sounded like the one of the prophets from Halo when you said that, by the way.
Right.
Specifically when he was voiced by Terrence Stamp, though.
But this moment was pivotal for Mon's character. The complete culmination of everything that she's been going through for all these years, just leading to this moment. Genevieve O'Reilly as well. Absolute one of the biggest saving graces of both of these series, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the acting across the board's fantastic from pretty much all of the players here, but her certainly. And I think she is getting a lot of recognition from this. I think a lot of people are speaking out about how Mon Mothma. I mean, I'll say this as well. Like Mon Mothma has sort of become one of my favorite characters now, based on the success of this series and what they've done with her character. It is going to be very interesting going into not just Rogue One, but also the original trilogy again. And I didn't mention this with episode 8, but I think it just goes without saying is that, and season 1 did a great job of this too, was making the Empire threatening, because doesn't it just make them more terrifying where they don't keep missing shots and they are actually competent at what they do and they are terrifying in their oppression, and when they succeed, that just makes them way more terrifying in my opinion anyway. So the fact that we are leading to that Death Star and knowing where it's ultimately going to lead, I think this is even going to have a big impact in going back to the OT and watching that again and understanding the plight of the rebels and wanting to see them succeed. Yeah.
I watched 81's Revisited the other day, but I got a screen glare headache, so I kind of couldn't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, good shit. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can mention about episode 9. It feels like we haven't talked about this one a lot, but it's still, we've talked about the ending with Bix and they're reprogramming K2.
They say they have a ship waiting for Mon Mothma. Take a fucking wild guess who's in that.
Say that again. Sorry, you cut out. Your connection's quite bad.
There's a ship. They got a ship waiting for Mon Mothma. Take a wild guess who's waiting in that. It's the Ghost Crew. There's only one thing there's only one thing special about Cass. Luck. Blind, stupid, stinking, doodah, clueless
luck. We could just end the stream there. So fucking good.
All right. Andor season 2 finale. Bring back the Cumnet.
There it is. There it is. I mean,
I've been JX editor. That's been Chris.
All right, let's round this shit up.
To be them.
It's weird saying predictions for the final arc. I mean, I guess there are still predictions to be had, but
with everything so disconnected, like it's been each thing's been a suitable follow-up. But other than the Ghorman massacre, it's all been fairly unpredictable. It's been too disconnected to be predictable. Mm-hmm. Like you couldn't watch A New Hope and think, okay, I bet they're going to an ice planet in the next one.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw some things out there. This is just real quick fire. Any more Saw Gerrera stuff? Do we think we see him lose body parts or become more
We
machine?
don't need to at this point. We have a bridge between season one Saw and Rogue One Saw in his last scene with the Redonium.
I mean, this whole season we've seen him huff
You're
Rhydonium, and
here,
that's
boy.
it.
You're right here. I gotta stop doing the voices. I'm sorry to people who haven't watched this show.
Like in if we don't see him in the next 3 episodes, in 12 episodes of an hour apiece, we've seen one scene of him where he huffs Rhydonium.
Well, and all the scenes before that.
Isn't there a bit of missed opportunity though? Do you think we could have seen developed him out a little bit more?
The show isn't called Gerrera.
That's true, but I think we could have balanced out some more time with it, maybe.
Saw was created to be the main character of a show about Saw. So I haven't written that off yet.
Well, I'd like a young Jyn Erso and Saw show. We have 16 plus years of stuff that isn't covered.
But I completely agreed with that. I was like, they should have done that instead of Andor. But
and look where we are.
Yeah, no. The thing is, we didn't. If Andor was what we thought it was going to be, then no, it should have.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
but the thing is, they can still make what we thought Andor was going to be about Jyn Erso.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, how old is the kid from the beginning of Rogue One now?
Oh God! I mean, Rogue One came out what 2016,
2015,
wasn't it?
10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not far off, is it?
So they could do a show that takes place like 5 years, 6 years before Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know when Saw abandoned her though.
Let's see what I was going to say. Do we get more Krennic next 3 episodes?
Oh, we're getting Krennic tomorrow or next week. We're getting one last Krennic scene. And I don't think we're getting a Krennic episode. I don't think he's going to be super, but I think we need one Krennic scene where he talks about what has happened so far.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I think the boldest prediction and the one that I would love to see come to fruition is the stuff with Luthen being apprehended and, his inside man there as well with Dedra. Yeah, Lonnie. Dedra.
Lonnie's going to escape.
Yeah.
He's gonna give Lonnie exactly what he wanted. He's gonna be like, go, take your wife and go, but you need to kill me first.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. Or he's not going to he's gonna leave and not take the opportunity, and he's gonna be the new Luthen, though maybe less immoral.
And Lord have mercy, can we get B2 in there as well? Jesus, we need to tie that up.
No, B2's fine.
Somewhat, I think it might have been Bath Time actually brought this up when we talked about the first arc for this, about the whole.
Wait, does anyone know where B2 is?
Apart from Cassian, probably not.
No, Cassian doesn't know where B2 is. The only person who knows where B2 is dead. He got shot in a motorcycle accident.
Oh shit! Moment of silence for B2 then. Maybe there's going to be a side comic or something.
Broso?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have seen a lot of people initially hypothesizing that they wondered if K2 was going to be downloaded with the memories of B2.
No.
But, yeah. Well, I feel like we need to tie that up because they've just dropped that fucking character.
No.
But yeah, going back to something Batman mentioned.
That would be like if Vision was voiced by James Spader.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason he's Paul Bettany.
Yeah. Going back to something Bath Time said in the first arc of these episodes, and that certain essay scene or the attempted rape scene with Bix, saying that if this doesn't have any impact on the character, then it is kind of a waste of time. Seeing how the story's gone on with Bix, I think you could have just removed it. I think you had enough there with her PTSD from Dr. Gorst leading into that plot. I don't think it was necessary. If this is the last that
I
we've
need to
seen
give
of
this another
Bix,
watch. I don't know. I don't, you know, like I said, I don't know what's coming. We'll need to give it a watch. I don't really know what you like. If you remove that for Bix for that arc,
doesn't change anything.
what happens? No. What happens to Bix that arc at all?
Well, I wouldn't have that arc fundamentally.
Right. Okay, but like no. But like those 3 episodes exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have this arc, we have this pocket, and that is the culmination of Bix's story in that arc.
Well, they're just trying to get off planet. They're just trying to stay safe. That's it.
Right. I know. What do you do with Bix as a character in that arc? How do you build her character in that arc to lead into the next to lead into her character in the next one? Because you're right, you can just remove that, but in doing that, you can also just remove Bix from that entire arc, and
Yes.
her trauma is exclusively about
Yes,
Dr.
which
Gorsk.
it is. When we see the flashback that she's having and the sleepless nights, it's all about Dr. Gorst. It's got nothing to do with the stuff that transpired in the first 3 episodes.
Right. Again, what do you do with Bix in that arc?
Well, you have her there. You have the Imperial show up, and if they get found out that they're not who they say they are, they will be arrested. The cat's out of the bag and everything. There is that peril there. There is that tension, and Cassian has to come in at the last minute and save them all. You could still have that. You just don't have that scene because ultimately it doesn't play into her trauma or her character or her PTSD in the following arc. It's all to do with Dr. Gorst still.
Well, no, because she is the one who handles it in that scene too.
But what are you? Well, yeah.
Like she beats the guy to death.
But it's not a character arc. Even with that scene, you keep saying like, "What's her character?" I would still argue, "What's her character in that?" Or she gets attacked. That's not a character. That's just a thing that happens to her character.
She gets to no. She starts off in a place of vulnerability. That vulnerability leads to her being attacked, and then she fights off the attacker. That's the
for
arc.
her then to be vulnerable again about Dr. Gorst in the next arc. So why the reset?
Again, I agree. This could have been removed, but you have this arc here. You have to do something. You have to set up the next arc where she is dealing with her trauma. You can't do nothing with Bix. She's not a prop.
She was still having nightmares, wasn't she, in the first arc? Or did that only come into play in the second arc?
Hang on. Sorry, my headphones keep buzzing you, and I have to keep turning them. Can you speak again?
Yeah, sure. Is that back to normal?
Okay. Sorry, repeat that. Okay, repeat the question. I can hear you.
Okay, so wasn't she still having PTSD about Dr. Gorst in the first arc, or did that only come into play in the second arc?
Yeah. No. She has the first nightmare when she wakes up and sees him standing over her bed. I still think there should have been so okay. When I watched that scene, I was like, okay, either she's going to get raped, and that's where this scene is going, or what happens is going to happen. What does happen happens. If she got raped, I was certain there was going to be like one moment where the guy was going to be standing over her, and he was going to be Dr. Gorst.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should have still been in there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's more of a link.
Again, it's not a very good character thing. It's not a very good character arc for her in that story, but it is one. It is a character progression for her in that arc, and to remove that means you're not doing anything with Bix in the first arc. And also, I would point out that by reestablishing her trauma in using the first arc to reestablish her trauma from like the first one and set her up as somebody vulnerable though willing to fight, it's kind of like the recast of Bale and what that sets up.
Well, do you know what it reminds me of? And it's similar subject matter, unfortunately, but Sansa in Game of Thrones. she's tortured, raped, and everything by Joffrey, and has a real miserable go of it.
She doesn't
And then
get
you
raped
have
by Joffrey. That's much later.
well, no, she gets. Oh no, it's during the attack in the streets, isn't it? There's an attempt.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
yeah, she
isn't
gets
there?
attacked. There's an attack from those them guys.
Yeah. Anyway, she has a horrible go of it with Joffrey, and then I don't know if it's the one of the endings of season 4. We see her descending the staircase where she's kind of become dark side Sansa, and she's found that inner confidence, that inner swagger. And then as soon as we get to season 5, she gets lumped with Ramsay, and we're back to innocent, being raped by
Yeah,
Ramsay and all these horrible things again. We hit
no,
the reset
it's
button
when
on it.
she's in the Vale. When
Yeah.
she's in the Vale of Arryn, and they're it's like they're like, what happened with your aunt Elsa or Lysa? And Sansa just plays the Game of Thrones, not like a master, but like an adept, like
Mm-hmm.
somebody who has been paying attention.
But you know how that sort of reset her character back to factory settings? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying there. Although I see, I don't see external factors necessarily as these hard resets like that. I see what people are saying, but even with Sansa there, I don't see it as a hard reset of her character. I see her it's her new self facing her old challenge and having to actually prove that she is the stronger version of herself that she claims to be.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Right, I think we've said everything we can on this. We've sort of come up with our predictions for the final 3 episodes, but it's got a lot
I had a
to.
little interjection where I said that episode 8 is the best episode. Also, Andor is pretty good.
Yeah, so for me, episode 8 in these 3 episodes, but they're all part of a package deal.
No,
Each one of these.
Bath Time's last thing.
Oh, sorry. Bathtime says, "Have you gone off topic into The Last Jedi yet?" No, we're not doing that because we need to round this off right now. But yeah, out of these 3 episodes, all of them come as a package
And then
deal.
also, I made a joke when I made a joke about how Cassian tried to kill K2 by arbitrarily holding a blaster near him while he was asleep, and not attempting to kill him at all, but still somehow tried to kill him. I guess that's what that means, Chris.
Yeah, for me, these 3 episodes, episode 8 is the best, but it comes as a package deal. For me, it's like the Battle of Helm's Deep. The Helm's Deep is an amazing payoff, but it doesn't have that effect unless you have that amazing build up and building tension until you get that amazing payoff. And I feel like episode 7 into episode 8 did just that with this. But 9's phenomenal as well, and I really hope it sticks the landing. I think it will if it's mirroring sort of what happened with season 1. You could argue that the first arc or 2 was a little bit slow, perhaps, and then it really found its footing towards the end, didn't it? So I think this will do just the same. I think we're in for 3 great episodes, but is 3 hours going to be enough to wrap all of these storylines up in a compelling way for all of these characters? Because we've got a lot of people at play now. So we will see. Bath Time says,
"Yeah, this is a really interesting question."
No, because I was thinking
this says a lot about Star Wars.
I was thinking this too.
Return of the Jedi.
Or episode.
Whenever anybody says something doesn't feel like Star Wars, they're talking about Return of the Jedi.
I don't think that at all. I think it very much feels like Star Wars,
when the feeling of Star Wars is brought is being defined, it's the feeling of Return of the Jedi. It's this tone that was set where it's just like, okay, we've got these 2 things, but then here's this improvement, but also sort of retelling. And it's just like, here's familiar notes in an exciting, straightforward, simple way. This is what Star Wars. Here's some Star Wars. Here's a nice hot bowl of Star Wars. It's hot and nourishing. It's beans and sausage. Andor is a steak. And episode 8 is the filet.
So for me, I mean, I don't agree with anything you said about Return of the Jedi there. I think it does feel very Star Wars. Yeah, it has some second act problems,
I
definitely.
just said, wait a second, wait a second. What do you think I just
No,
said
you
about
you,
Return of the
you
Jedi?
said when people say that it doesn't feel like Star Wars, they're talking about Return of the Jedi. I disagree with that
Yeah.
completely.
What do you think I mean by that? When
When
something they say something doesn't feel like Star Wars, they're saying this doesn't feel like Return of the Jedi.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant Return of the Jedi doesn't feel
Star
like.
Wars
Yeah,
set the tone of what like the Clone Wars when you're when the Clone Wars is literally just 50 hours of Return of the Jedi. Force Awakens is just Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is just
no,
Return
it
of the
isn't.
Jedi.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It's a new hope.
100%.
It's a new hope.
Return of the Jedi is just A New Hope. Yes, I
No, you said
agree.
you
A
no,
New
you
Hope,
said
but
for
bigger.
you said no, you said Force Awakens, right? Force Awakens.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So is Return of the Jedi, buddy.
Oh, fuck you. We're not doing this right now. We're not doing this right now. He's talking shit. But if we're talking writing, episode
Spitting
and
facts.
if we're talking like direction and everything, episode 8 of Andor, it's masterful. But the two are very, very different animals, and I know that they all belong in one big blanket that is Star Wars. Um, I think both of them have a place at the table. Um, and as I mentioned, like Return of the Jedi has the certain fantasy elements, spiritual elements, and old time like fantasy stories and all of the melodrama and whatnot. The soap opera stuff that George Lucas says is synonymous with Star Wars, whereas this is just you could take Star Wars out of the equation and it's just a really, really good war drama series, done phenomenally well. And I like that we have both of these. Now that we have this, though, and it is so groundbreaking and hard hitting, it's weird to view everything. This is why I'm looking forward to Rogue One after this. It's going to be very interesting going back to that, where we are getting to more of the blockbuster movie feel with elements of the war stuff in there, but it ain't going to be the same as what Andor has been. So, but yeah, if we're talking direction, writing, and everything, episode 8 of Andor, hands down, is outstanding. Acting wise, just
Excellent.
everything across the board. But I love Return of the Jedi. It's the emotional climax to everything,
fantastic.
and it
It's
nails it.
but it's an overall improvement. Like it's an overall technical improvement on the stuff from A New Hope, and the story is straightforward. The characters are likable, but let's call a spade here. You know, you got Moss. You get a wrap up of the previous movie done through Moss Eisley, but better, and then you get the wrap up of the main plot done through Yavin, but better.
Bath
That's what
time
Return
says.
of the Jedi is. That's fine.
Bath-Time says Helm's Deep is by far the peak of Lord of the Rings. I never really rated the chapter in the book particularly highly until I saw what Peter Jackson did with it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's to do with the structure of the book comparative to the movie. That there's more of a sense of finality that, this is our last stand. The various cutaways to the children being drafted in and the elderly and whatnot. It's yeah, phenomenal. Bath-Time says, I think Return of the Jedi is very Star Wars, or too few. Bath Time says, I think Return of the Jedi is very Star Wars, but then again, I think each of the main planets in each film is representative of what's going on, what's going for the characters, and Endor fits perfectly. One of my biggest issues with the sequel
What does that
trilogy is
mean?
the planets have nothing to do with the characters' internal journeys. The best thing
What
about
does
Return of the
Endor have to do with with the internal journey of the characters, though? Because I don't know what you mean by that. And also for the thing you say after that, Cantonica, Octo, and Exegol. By the way, that was descending examples. Like the example worked better in the earlier as you could and get worse as you continue. But
I mean,
um,
let's see what Bath Time
but
replies with.
I genuinely like. What do you mean by Endor fits perfectly to represent what's going on for the characters? Because Endor is this feels like a stretch. This feels like a stretch because I feel like it's important to note that the Battle of Endor is just an earlier draft of the Battle of Yavin rewritten. Like the Wookiees that were going to be helping with Endor in the earlier drafts of Return of the Jedi, those are from the earlier drafts of A New Hope.
I agree with that bit. Like Dagobah is subconscious. Yeah, that checks out. Tatooine is death. I mean, that is kind of referred to in Return of the Jedi, isn't it? Where he says like, "You're going to die
I used
here."
to live here.
Convenient.
Convenient.
Yeah. I don't know about Endor being rebirth, though.
I'll give it some thought, but I think you might be stretching, but it's definitely worth considering because there is some major contrast between Endor and Tatooine, and I would point out the fact that if they were supposed to be in the same movie, so I don't think it's probably not an accident. Like, because again, Yavin was supposed to be more like Endor in the original. If you read the Star Wars, the comic, that you'll get Prince Chewbacca and Tarful. No, Prince Tarful and Chewbacca.
Math Time says the best thing about Return of the Jedi is him saying, "I am a Jedi, like my father before me," which can't happen without his cave fight in Empire Strikes Back. None of the quoted films do that. Great, it's a fantastic payoff. It's one of my favorite moments in the film.
Which cannot happen with the what? I feel like that can't happen without the scene in Obi-Wan's house in A New Hope.
Yeah, well, it's given more weight, isn't it, when he knows the identity of his father and is still able to forgive him for it.
That's on Bespin. Again, that's still not the cave. Unless you're watching Skywalker, a Star Wars story by JX Editor.
Endor is a green planet that's about growth and nature. It's essentially a Garden of Eden and a new start. Well, I mean, yeah, you do kind of get that at the end, don't you?
He loves his biblical shit. Lucas loves his biblical planets.
Mm-hmm. Right, we are probably going to have to round this off, I'm afraid, because I do have work in 8 hours, which is going to be very fun. He's reconciled his father and his place in society. The whole point of him literally fighting his dad in a cave. See, I need to read this. What is it? Hero with 1,000 faces.
Again,
I need to read this shit.
Of him, I mean, I guess. Okay, he reckons. Okay, I get. Okay. You know what? I was looking at this purely from just like an Empire Strikes Back Star Wars standpoint, but actually, like looking at it from the Joseph Campbell angle, you're absolutely right. Okay, I see exactly what you're saying. I feel like, in fact, I should have. It's fucking Bath Time, the one who's been talking to you about the monomyth. I should have put this together before. I feel like an idiot now. Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right about the cave Bath Time with his place in society. Oh fuck, I am pasta fazool. I am a fool. Put my link down there so I can.
I'm on it. There we go.
What dignity I have left. Actually,
what are you working on?
If you go to that link, there is an edit of Andor I recently put out of a scene we just talked about, where I give my thoughts on the scene with Bix where the Imperial officer attempts to assault her. If you want my thoughts on that and why I don't think a more subtle edit would have worked, while also watching a more subtle edit, subtle. Check out my latest video.
Yeah,
with Revenge of the Sith out still in theaters, just throwing it out there. I did also just post an edit of the Clone Wars to make a movie that you can watch right before Revenge of the Sith.
Awesome. And well, we've got Andor next week, haven't we? And then we also have our little Revenge of the Sith official 20th anniversary stream that we're going to do. So I have already talked about the movie twice now with Dale, but we're going with a bit of a different approach. Yeah, you've got the book right there. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting the novelization version with the movie. We're going to be talking about pros and cons, new scenes, extended scenes, scenes that we prefer in the novel, scenes that we think are handled better in the movie, and everything in between. So it's going to be a very interesting video. We've never really done anything like that on the channel before, and we were thinking of a fresh approach to talk about Revenge of the Sith. So yeah.
This story happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It is already over. Nothing can be done to change it. Holy shit! That's how the book starts. It's just hey, just so you know, this is gonna get sad.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be an interesting video.
It's
we haven't done anything like that on the channel before, but it'll be a cool discussion. As I say, I'm 4 hours away from finishing it, so I'm on track. I believe we're going live for that on the 19th. Was it? Was it May? No, not the 19th. 16th, isn't it?
The 20. Wait, when the anniversary is? I think that's the 19th.
The 19th.
Oh, it's on the 19th.
It better be the. It better be. I'm going to check this right now. It better be the 16th because I'm watching Eurovision.
I know it's not the 16th. I know it's not the 16th because you messaged me 2 days ago that we had 10 days, and I said,
"Oh, it is the 19th." Let me check. Let me check the 19th. Oh no, Eurovision's on the 17th. Yeah, we're good. That's on a Monday. I might have to move the Don Bluth thing, but it's fine. So if you haven't done so already, let us know your thoughts on Andor and your hopes and what you think is going to happen in the final 3 episodes. Let us know what you thought of these as well. Consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. I will be live again with Dale on Monday. We'll be talking about Don Bluth's most successful film, which is Anastasia, one of my favorite films from growing up. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. We'll, of course, be live again on Thursday, talking about the finale to season 2. Then we've got our Revenge of the Sith stream, and then we'll also be talking about Rogue One at some point too, right after that. So a lot of Star Wars stuff is happening on the channel right now, and it's nice. It's nice to look back at Star Wars stuff that I actually have an interest in. Oh, are we losing JX? Oh, he's still there. Bathtime says, has Dale been sighted? He has. He got in contact with me the following day at 11 p.m. So, yeah, which was a relief because I was fearing the worst.
Not Andor.
No, not Andor. I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, big thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight, kept the conversation going, and stayed with us for coming up to 2 hours. We really appreciate you guys. I will see you soon on the next stream. So take care, everyone.